The emergency session hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with urgent conversations. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive chamber, their voices creating a chaotic symphony of alien languages. At the center of it all sat Ambassador Hannah Kim, her face carved from stone, her eyes fixed on the holographic display floating above the council floor. The images were brutal. Kepler Station, once a thriving human diplomatic outpost on the frontier of known space, now existed only as scattered debris and frozen bodies drifting through the void. 3,000 civilians. Men, women, children. All dead. The Valkyrie ambassador, a towering creature with 6 arms and scales that shimmered like oil, stood before the council. His name was Thrax, and he spoke with the confidence of someone who believed himself untouchable. The humans encroached upon disputed territory, Thrax announced, his voice booming through the translation devices. They ignored our warnings. They refused to acknowledge our ancient claims to those systems. What happened at Kepler Station was regrettable, but it was their own fault. Murmurs of agreement rippled through portions of the assembly. This was how things worked in the galaxy. Territories were disputed. Blood was shed. Then came negotiations, compromises, and carefully worded agreements that everyone pretended to honor. The council mediator, a floating blob of luminescent gas from the ether collective, pulsed with calming blue light. We understand the Valkyrie position. However, the loss of life was substantial. We propose a standard resolution framework. The humans will withdraw from the 3 contested star systems. In exchange, the Valkyrie will pay reparations of 10 million galactic credits and issue a formal statement of regret. More murmurs. Some species nodded their various appendages in approval. This was reasonable. This was civilized. This was how the galaxy maintained peace. Ambassador Hannah Kim stood slowly. The chamber fell silent. She was small compared to most beings present, but something in her posture commanded attention. She had been quiet throughout the entire session, letting the other species debate and discuss as if human lives were mere bargaining chips. No, she said simply. The mediator pulsed with confused yellow light. Ambassador Kim, perhaps you did not understand the generous terms being offered. I understood perfectly, Hannah replied, her voice cold and clear. And my answer is no. Humanity does not negotiate with murderers. Thrax laughed, a sound like grinding metal. You are a young species human. You do not understand how galactic politics work. This is how disputes are settled. This is civilization. Hannah turned to face him directly. 3,000 people. You killed 3,000 unarmed civilians. Station workers, teachers, children barely old enough to walk. And you stand there demanding we reward you with territory? The council has spoken, Thrax said dismissively. Accept the terms or face isolation from the galactic community. Hannah's expression did not change. When she spoke again, every being in the chamber felt a chill run through whatever anatomy they possessed. The Valkyrie Dominion has 72 hours to surrender every individual responsible for the Kepler Station massacre. Every officer who gave the order. Every soldier who pulled the trigger. Every commander who planned the attack. Surrender them for trial or we will come for them ourselves. The chamber erupted in shocked chatter. The mediator pulsed red with alarm. Ambassador Kim, you cannot be serious. You are threatening military action over a matter that can be resolved diplomatically. There is no diplomacy with mass murderers, Hannah said. 72 hours. She turned and walked toward the exit. Behind her, Thrax called out mockingly, your fleet is small, human. You are no match for the Dominion. You will regret this foolish pride. Hannah paused at the doorway and looked back over her shoulder. We will see. Within hours, something strange began happening across the galaxy. Human ships started leaving every Galactic Council station. Diplomatic staff packed their belongings. Trade vessels changed course. The entire United Earth fleet, which had been scattered across dozens of systems, simply vanished from every sensor network. Their transponders went dark. Their communications ceased. It was as if humanity had pulled back behind some invisible curtain, disappearing from galactic view. In the Valkyrie home system, Supreme Leader Thrax watched reports of human withdrawal with satisfaction. He had called their bluff. The weak young species had retreated in fear, just as he expected. He had no idea that humanity was not retreating. They were hunting. The 72-hour deadline passed in silence. Across Valkyrie space, military commanders relaxed. Their supreme leader Thrax had been right. The humans were weak, emotional creatures who made empty threats. They had crawled back to their corner of the galaxy, accepting their place in the natural order. Commander Bora stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie destroyer Crimson Fong, patrolling the outer edges of their territory. She had personally led one of the assault teams at Kepler Station. The memories made her smile. The humans had been so surprised, so helpless. "Commander, we are receiving a distress call from Outpost 7, her communications officer said suddenly. Bora frowned. "Put it through." Static crackled, then screaming. The sound of weapons fire. Then nothing but silence. "Get me a visual," Bora ordered, her confidence wavering. The screen showed Outpost 7. Or rather, what remained of it. The military installation was completely destroyed. Buildings reduced to rubble. Defense towers melted into slag. Not a single structure left standing. "How many survivors?" Bora asked quietly. "None, Commander. Every soldier stationed there is dead." Bora felt her scales prickle with unease. Who attacked them? Did they see anything? "The outpost never sent any warning, Commander. Whatever hit them did it so fast they could not even call for help." Over the next 7 days, 6 more Valkyrie military installations vanished from existence. Each attack was surgical and total. The pattern became clear. Only military targets. Only bases that housed soldiers who had participated in the Kepler Station massacre. No civilian casualties. No collateral damage. But the most terrifying part was how the attacks happened. Ships appeared from nowhere, struck with devastating precision, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. The Valkyrie military, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy, was being picked apart piece by piece. Commander Jiho of the Valkyrie First Fleet studied the reports with growing horror. He had also been at Kepler Station. He remembered giving the order to fire on the escape pods. Those pods had contained families trying to flee. "They are hunting us," he whispered to his second officer. "The humans are not waging war. They are hunting specific people." His worst fears were confirmed when a broadcast appeared on every screen across Valkyrie space. It was Ambassador Hannah Kim, her expression as cold as deep space. "We told you," she said simply. "We do not negotiate with murderers." What follows is a list of every individual involved in the Kepler Station massacre. Every officer who gave orders. Every soldier who fired weapons. Every commander who planned the attack. "We know who you are. We know where you are. And we are coming for you." The list appeared. 2,847 names. Exact. Complete. Horrifyingly accurate. Jiho saw his own name on the list. So did Bora. So did thousands of other Valkyrie warriors across their empire. Panic spread through the Valkyrie military like wildfire. Officers tried to transfer to different posts. Some attempted to flee to neutral space. Others went into hiding. But wherever they went, the humans found them. A Valkyrie admiral hiding on a remote colony world woke up to find human soldiers in his bedroom. They took him without firing a shot. A captain who had fled to a neutral trading station was extracted in broad daylight. Security cameras showed humans in strange black armor appearing, grabbing their target and vanishing like ghosts. The Galactic Council demanded that humanity cease these operations immediately. Ambassador Hannah Kim's response was broadcast across the entire galaxy. "We gave you a chance to deliver justice through your systems," she said. "You chose politics over accountability. You chose to treat murdered children as negotiating points. We will not make that mistake. Every person on that list will face trial for their crimes. This is not a request. This is not negotiable. This is happening." On the Valkyrie homeworld, Supreme Leader Thrax watched his military structure collapse from within. Officers were surrendering their own comrades to save themselves. Others were attempting coups to hand over the accused. The mighty Valkyrie Dominion was tearing itself apart. And the humans had not fired a single shot at a civilian target. Thrax finally understood what he was facing. These were not the helpless victims from Kepler Station. Humanity had revealed what they truly were. Predators with principles. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Species that had maintained diplomatic relations for centuries were now shouting at each other. At the center of the storm stood Ambassador Hannah Kim, unmoved by the fury directed at her. "You have violated sovereign territory," the mediator pulsed with angry red light. "You have conducted military operations without council approval. You have ignored every attempt at mediation. This must stop." Hannah looked around the chamber slowly. "You had centuries to establish real justice in this galaxy. Instead, you built a system where the powerful can murder the weak and simply pay credits to make it go away. We will not participate in that system." A representative from the Corellius Federation, a species that looked like walking trees, spoke up. What you are doing is vigilante justice. It undermines everything the Council stands for. The Council stands for nothing, Hannah replied bluntly. The Valkyrie murdered 3,000 civilians. Your response was to suggest we give them more territory. You are not a justice system. You are a political theater where the strong do as they please. Before anyone could respond, news came in. 3 Valkyrie admirals who had attempted to flee to neutral territory had been captured. Human special forces had conducted simultaneous raids on 3 different worlds, extracted their targets, and disappeared within minutes. The representatives from those worlds were furious. You violated our neutrality. You had no right to conduct operations on our soil. Hannah pulled up security footage from one of the raids. The Council watched as human soldiers in advanced armor moved through a luxury hotel. They passed dozens of civilians without harming anyone. They reached their target, a Valkyrie admiral hiding in a penthouse suite. The admiral tried to fight. The humans subdued him in seconds using non-lethal weapons. Then they vanished. Your security forces had 3 minutes to respond, Hannah said calmly. We were gone in 90 seconds. 0 civilian casualties. 0 damage to property. We took only the war criminal we came for. That is precision. That is justice. A small delegate from the Pirani cluster, a species that had suffered under Valkyrie aggression for decades, spoke quietly. Perhaps the humans have a point. How many times have the Valkyrie attacked our colonies? How many times did the Council do nothing except suggest negotiations? Other voices joined in. Species that had been victims of powerful empires began to speak up. The Council's authority, built on centuries of maintaining the status quo, began to crack. Meanwhile, across Valkyrie space, the military was collapsing from within. Commander Bora found herself arrested by her own soldiers. They dragged her to a landing pad where a human ship waited. "What are you doing?" she screamed at her troops. "I am your commander." A young Valkyrie soldier, barely old enough to serve, looked at her with disgust. "You murdered children. You killed families trying to escape. The humans only want you and others like you. If we give you to them, they will leave us alone. You are not worth protecting." Bora was not alone. Across the Dominion, war criminals were being turned over by their own people. Some Valkyrie citizens had seen the list of names and realized these were not heroes but murderers. The government's propaganda could not hide the truth anymore. On the bridge of his flagship, Supreme Leader Thrax watched his empire crumble. His generals were betraying each other. His admirals were in hiding. His people were losing faith in his leadership. All because of one small species that refused to follow the rules. He made his decision. Prepare the fleet. We will destroy the human homeworld. If they want war, we will give them war. His tactical officer hesitated. Sir, our intelligence cannot locate the human fleet. They have been moving in complete darkness. We do not know where they are. Thrax slammed his fist down. Then we will attack Earth itself. Gather every ship we have. What Thrax did not know was that human intelligence had been monitoring every Valkyrie communication for weeks. They knew about his plan before his own admirals did. And the human fleet was already moving. Not toward Earth. Toward the Valkyrie homeworld. The Valkyrie homeworld of Valkar Prime woke up to a terrifying sight. Hundreds of human warships surrounded their planet in a perfect blockade. Not a single shot had been fired. Not a single missile launched. The ships simply sat there, silent and waiting. On the surface, citizens looked up at their sky and saw the human fleet blocking out the stars. Panic spread through the cities like wildfire. Supreme Leader Thrax stood in his command center, staring at the tactical display. His own fleet was scattered across the Empire, too far away to help. The humans had moved faster than he thought possible. "They are hailing us," his communications officer said nervously. Ambassador Hannah Kim's face appeared on every screen across the planet. Her message was simple and clear. "Citizens of Valkar Prime, humanity has no quarrel with you. We want only the 2,847 individuals responsible for the Kepler Station massacre. Surrender them to us and we will leave immediately. Refuse and nothing enters or leaves this system until justice is served." Thrax cut off the transmission and addressed his people. "Do not listen to human lies. They want to conquer us. Prepare for invasion. Ready all planetary defenses." But the invasion never came. Days passed. The human ships simply waited. No bombardment. No ground assault. Just silence. The blockade was perfect. Trade ships trying to leave were turned back. Supply vessels trying to enter were denied passage. Food shipments stopped. Medical supplies ran low. The economic heart of the Valkyrie Dominion began to fail. On the fifth day, human broadcasts penetrated every communication network on the planet. Citizens who had been fed government propaganda now heard the truth. Videos from Kepler Station. Children running in terror. Families begging for mercy. Escape pods being shot down. The Valkyrie soldiers laughing as they murdered unarmed humans. The footage was horrific. Many Valkyrie citizens had believed the government's story that Kepler Station was a military target. Now they saw the reality. They had cheered for mass murderers. Hannah Kim appeared again. Your leaders killed 3,000 innocent people. We know the name of every single person who participated. We have evidence of every crime. Give us these 2,847 murderers. Everyone else walks away unharmed. This is not revenge. This is justice. The precision of that number shook the Valkyrie people. The humans were not here to destroy their civilization. They were here for specific criminals. They knew exactly who was guilty and who was innocent. Protests erupted in the streets. Valkyrie citizens demanded their government surrender the war criminals. Families who had lost loved ones in human operations realized those deaths meant nothing if the guilty went free. In the military barracks, soldiers began to mutiny. Why should they protect officers who had committed atrocities? Why should their people suffer for the crimes of a few thousand murderers? Thrax watched his control slip away. He ordered his loyal guards to arrest the protesters. Riots broke out. The capital city descended into chaos. Deep beneath the surface, human special forces teams were already on the planet. They had infiltrated during the confusion, not to conquer, but to assist. They provided intelligence to Valkyrie citizens trying to locate the war criminals. They helped coordinate efforts to apprehend the guilty. A provisional government formed, made up of Valkyrie military officers who had not participated in the massacre. They contacted the human fleet directly. We will surrender those responsible, their leader said. Please, no more suffering. Our people have learned the cost of following monsters. Thrax and his most loyal guards barricaded themselves in the planetary palace. I will never surrender, he screamed. I am the supreme leader. That night, Valkyrie soldiers, his own people, stormed the palace. They arrested Thrax and every war criminal hiding with him. When human ships landed to collect the prisoners, they were met not with resistance but with cooperation. The Valkyrie people lined the streets, watching as the murderers were loaded onto transport ships. Some citizens wept. Others shouted in anger at the criminals who had brought such shame to their civilization. Commander Bora was led in chains past her own people. They threw trash at her and cursed her name. Not a single additional Valkyrie civilian had died during the entire siege. The human fleet withdrew from Velkar Prime the moment the last war criminal was transferred to custody. True to their word, they left immediately. No occupation. No demands for territory. No reparations. They had come for justice, and once they had it, they simply left. The trials began on a neutral station at the edge of known space. Every species in the galaxy could watch the proceedings. The evidence was overwhelming. Communications records. Video footage. Testimony from survivors. Orders given. Triggers pulled. Lives ended. Commander Bora sat in the defendant's box, her scales no longer shimmering with pride. The prosecutors played her own words back to her. Fire on the escape pods. Leave no witnesses. She had said it casually, as if discussing the weather. Supreme Leader Thrax tried to justify his actions. It was war. It was necessary. The human prosecutor, a quiet man named Tamine, responded simply. It was murder. 3,000 unarmed civilians. That is not war. That is a massacre. One by one, the guilty were convicted. The galaxy watched. Some species were horrified by the evidence. Others were quietly satisfied to see the powerful finally held accountable. The Galactic Council convened to condemn humanity's actions. They prepared speeches about violation of sovereignty, about dangerous precedents, about the chaos that vigilante justice would bring. Ambassador Hannah Kim stood before them one final time. The chamber fell silent. You claim we violated galactic law, she began, her voice steady and clear. What law? The law that lets murderers negotiate their way out of consequences? The law that treats dead children as bargaining chips? The law that protects the powerful and ignores the suffering of the weak? She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of worlds. We are a young species. We have been part of this galactic community for barely a generation. You thought our youth made us weak. You confused our desire for peace with an inability to wage war. You were wrong. Hannah pulled up holographic images. The Kepler Station Massacre. The precision strikes against military targets. The bloodless siege of Velkar Prime. The trials. We did not come to your galaxy to conquer. We came seeking friendship and cooperation. But we will never sit at a table with murderers and call it diplomacy. We will never accept a system where justice can be bought with credits and empty apologies. A representative from the Corellius Federation stood. So what do you propose? That every species enforce their own justice? That we abandon the council system entirely? No, Hannah replied. We propose something better. Real accountability. Real consequences for war crimes. A galaxy where the strong cannot prey on the weak without facing justice. The small delegate from the Pirani cluster, whose people had suffered for decades, stood up. The Pirani cluster supports the human position. We join humanity in demanding reform. One by one, other species rose. The victims of galactic politics. The smaller civilizations who had been ignored. The worlds that had suffered while the council talked endlessly about negotiations and compromises. A new coalition formed that day. They called it the Accountability Alliance. It started with 12 species. Within weeks it grew to 30. Species that believed justice should matter more than political convenience. The old power brokers in the council watched their influence crumble. The Velkari Dominion, humbled and leaderless, began internal reforms. Their new government publicly apologized to humanity and to their own people for the crimes committed in their name. Other species that had committed atrocities quietly began reviewing their own actions. The galaxy had changed. The humans had proven that some things were non-negotiable. Months later, Hannah stood on an observation deck watching ships come and go from the neutral station. The trials were concluding. The guilty were being sentenced to imprisonment on a human-run facility. Real prison time. Real consequences. Another ambassador approached her. May I ask you something honestly? Hannah nodded. If the Velkari had not surrendered the war criminals, would you have destroyed their entire civilization? Hannah was quiet for a moment. We were prepared to hunt every single person on that list, even if it took a century. We would have searched every corner of their empire. We would have spent decades if necessary. But we would never have harmed innocent civilians. That is what separates justice from revenge. Precision. The ambassador considered this. You have changed the galaxy. No, Hannah replied. We simply reminded the galaxy of something it had forgotten. That some principles are worth fighting for. That murder must have consequences. That justice cannot be negotiated away. She looked out at the stars, at the ships carrying representatives from the Accountability Alliance. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through superior firepower. They had conquered through superior conviction. The message was clear across every world, every station, every corner of known space. Attack human civilians, face individual accountability. No negotiations. No exceptions. No mercy for murderers. The galaxy had learned. Humanity did not wage war on populations. They waged war on principles. And they always won.